Hello. So it's 2021 and last year we spent most of 2020 in lockdown. So I think pretty much every night me and my partner watched a horror movie. And we watched some classics, we've watched some really good horror movies, and we've watched some utter shite. And so today I wanted to pick out 10 films that were little hidden gems or ones that you might have overlooked, thrillers or horrors that you might not have seen or even heard of, and just recommend them. So let's get into it. In at number 10 we have Haunt. Now this is one that came out in 2019. There are other films called Haunt, but this is the one I'm chatting about. This one is about a group of people who go into a haunted house, like a scare maze at Halloween. It's meant to be the scariest one that you can find, and obviously they're going in there to see what it's all about. All is not as it seems when you go in there, and they start to figure out that some of these sort of scares and traps might be a little bit more real than they expected. This one does have a bit of a Saw feel to it, so if you like those movies you'll probably like this, but it's certainly not as extreme as those movies. It's not as gory, but it definitely doesn't hold back on the scares. We watched this one on Amazon Prime, but I believe it's available in other places as well. So yeah, check out Haunt. I really enjoyed it. At number 9 we've got The Platform, and this is a Spanish movie. It's on Netflix. It does have subtitles, and this is one that's all about a prison that's vertical. It has lots of floors to it, and there's a hole in the middle of the floor, and there is a platform, a hovering platform that goes down each floor, and it's filled with food, and people have to decide whether they're going to take as much as they want or just eat enough for themselves and let the platform carry on down the floors. Obviously this has all sorts of different connotations to it. There's lots of metaphors here in terms of sort of trickle down economics and poverty, sharing and all sorts of things like that. It has lots of different messages that you can take from it. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a very cool concept. It's very well made, had some great characters and some very memorable performances. I think this movie is fantastic. It was really well executed. It's got a really great concept to it and some amazing performances. I can't recommend it highly enough. I really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people could take a lot away from it as well, in terms of the message that it has to give. So yeah, check out The Platform on Netflix. So at number 8 we have Starry Eyes. Now this one is all about the world of acting and stardom and Hollywood, and it follows a young actress who is going to different auditions and casting calls and trying to break into the industry. She goes to one casting call that doesn't go particularly well, and she receives a call back, and it gets to be slightly more sinister, a bit strange, quite surreal, and a bit unnerving. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but the picture in the icon that I've used for this video is from that movie, and I will say it's got a great ending to it, and it's also one of those movies that will stick with you. It kind of reminded me of Neon Demon, but sort of not as sort of colourful and artistic and not as stylish, but definitely has a really good feel to it, and it was one that pleasantly surprised me. So Starry Eyes, check it out. So in at number 7 we have The Call, and this is not the Halle Berry one. This is one that came out in 2020. It's a Korean movie and it's on Netflix. So this one is all about a girl who's living in a house who answers the phone and realises that she is speaking to someone on the other end who is 20 years in the past, and starts to realise that these conversations that she has can affect her present by speaking to the person in the past, for better or worse. So you start to realise that obviously things that happen in the past is going to affect her in the present and the future, and it sort of starts messing with time basically a little bit, but with some pretty scary consequences. So this one pleasantly surprised me. I thought it was again another really great concept and very well executed, and it's one that I think you could watch multiple times and just take it in lots of different directions and try and figure out what was going on with all the characters. It's got some really great performances as well. I would definitely recommend checking this out, and it's one that I highly recommended to loads of my friends, and they all watched it and they all really enjoyed it. So yeah, thumbs up all round for that one, The Call. So this next one at number 6 is Assassination Nation. Now this one we watched on Netflix, and I believe in the UK it's only available until the 30th of April. So watch it while you can. But as we know, these films disappear from one streaming service and ping over to another one, so it won't be far behind somewhere else. So this one is an incredibly stylish Gen Z thriller. I really, really enjoyed it, and it's kind of about a girl who gets blamed for everyone in her town. The town is Salem, as in Salem witch trials. Everyone gets their search history hacked and all their computers hacked, and it all gets leaked online, and she gets the blame for it. And it almost turns into like a sort of scenario like The Purge, where the whole town is after her and everyone is against each other. Everyone starts hiding their identity and blaming each other for different things, and lots of secrets get uncovered. As I mentioned, it's really stylish. It's a great looking movie. It has a great soundtrack to it as well. It's got some really great LGBT representation. There's a great trans character in it. And also it just has like a really great feel to some of the action scenes where you really want some of these characters to get their revenge. So yeah, I definitely say check this one out. Go into it with an open mind and just enjoy it for what it is. I think they did a really good job. And I've watched it several times since, so check out Assassination Nation. I loved it. So next up, we have probably the oldest movie on this list, which is all the way from 2001, but it's one that I'm quite surprised that a lot of people still haven't seen, and this is called Session 9. So this is about a group of workers who go into an abandoned asylum to basically tear out all of the asbestos in there. One of the workers discovers some tapes from some of the interviews of the patients, one woman in particular who has many personalities, and some of those personalities start to infect some of the members of the work team that are there. I've had this movie on DVD for many years, and always seem to find loads of people who haven't watched it, and they either borrow it and love it and then buy a copy themselves, or we watch it together and they can't stop thinking about it afterwards. It also has some really creepy sound design, especially some of the voices in the tapes that you hear as well. So I definitely recommend Session 9 if you haven't seen it. It's great. So next up at number 4, we have His House. And this is a movie that came out in 2020. It's on Netflix. This is about a couple who are fleeing a sort of war-torn Sudan, and they come to England. They move into a small English town in this little rented property, which is quite run down, and they start to realise that they are seeing things and also experiencing some really sort of dark forces in this house, and they're trying to figure out why and trying to figure out what it is. This one has many different themes running through it, but a lot of it is to do with guilt and grief, and they're sort of displayed in this film as sort of manifesting in lots of different ways. You slowly start to watch one of the main characters unravel and start to go a little bit insane in this house, and you also see how these two people are going to try and sort of fit into this town as well, in such a vastly different world. I found that a lot of people didn't actually know this was even on Netflix. It kind of passed them by. So when I started to recommend it, a lot of people really enjoyed it. So definitely check out His House. I think it's a really good one, a good Netflix original. So in at number 3 we have another Netflix movie, and this is called The Perfection. So this one follows two musical prodigies that are sort of at different times in their career, but they both want to try and sort of escape the world that they're in, where they have to be so perfect and the best at what they do. So they start to go on almost like a road trip, and things just take a turn for the worse, and it just gets very surreal very quickly. I don't want to say too much about this because there are so many twists, and so much of it depends on some of the sort of shocking realizations that you get that messes with the timeline of this movie, and also messes with the perception of certain characters. So I don't want to say too much, but it does have a really great ending to it. Yeah, I think a lot of people overlook this. It has Alison Williams in, who was in Get Out and Girls, and it's just one of those movies that will stick with you for quite a while. So The Perfection, check that one out. So in at number 2 we have Let Her Out, and this is one that I watched on Amazon Prime, and it's all about a girl who gets into a car accident and starts to have blackouts because of the head trauma. She soon comes to realise that some of these blackouts are due to the fact that she actually had an unborn twin, and this unborn twin is actually starting to sort of grow inside her almost, and sometimes starts to almost take over. It's a really crazy concept, and it has some great sort of body horror moments in it. I really liked the score to this one. I thought the soundtracks was great. And it just has a concept that really creeped me out. It kind of got under my skin, if you excuse the pun, and stuck with me for a little while. So I would definitely recommend Let Her Out. I thought it was great. Sticking around? Yeah, she is. So in at number 1, this is the movie that I've seen most recently on this list, and this is called Daniel Isn't Real. Now this one is available on Shudder. We watched it on Now TV. This is all about a guy who experienced something traumatic as a child that brought on the need for an imaginary friend. So this imaginary friend is called Daniel, and the boy starts to have a really great friendship with Daniel until he starts to realise that Daniel's intentions aren't always very good, and he starts to influence him quite a lot. So the childhood friend essentially sort of gets almost locked away for most of his life, and then, so as the boy grows up and gets into his 20s, he starts to realise that he needs Daniel to come back, and Daniel re-emerges as an adult, played by Patrick Schwarzenegger. It's incredibly twisted. It's very, very surreal movie, and when Daniel comes back, you start to realise just how manipulative and toxic he is, and how much control he has over the main character. And this is a very, very strange movie. It has some really weird concepts to it. And it does have some great special effects, especially some of the prosthetic effects that they've got in it as well. I highly recommend this movie. It's so strange, but it's definitely worth a watch. So that's it. That's 10 horrors or thrillers that you might have missed, some hidden gems that I definitely recommend you check out. Now, I will say that with these movies, if you are interested in them, if they've piqued your interest at all, just go and watch the movie. Do not watch the trailers. Some of these trailers give way too much away and go into heavy spoiler territory, and I'm glad I found that out after I watched the films. So yeah, just definitely go into the film as is and enjoy it for yourself. So let me know down in the comments if you've seen any of these movies, or if you go away and watch them and come back, let me know. Obviously, movies or art is subjective, so there's no right or wrong answer to people's opinions on things. We certainly don't want any gatekeeping of what's a horror movie and what's a thriller. But just let me know your thoughts. Also, if you have any recommendations for me, given that you've seen this list, if there's any that you think I might like, or I haven't talked about, let me know, and let me know what your favourite horror movies are. So the last video I did was 10 found footage horror movies that you might have missed. I'll pop the link in the description in case you haven't seen it. But if you did like this video, obviously leave a thumbs up on it and do all those lovely YouTube things. Subscribe if you can, if you haven't subscribed already, just because that helps my channel out and it helps me reach more people. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.